For sure, though. Let's get into Khanna. And like you said, Zach, there was a point in time where I really admired Ro as well. And I mean, obviously, I guess he's still a little bit better than your average dim, but it seems like more and more so, as you said, he just is becoming, your average fucking Democrat, which is super disappointing because I think it's kind of, representative of the whole Bernie Sanders movement. Ro Khanna was one of Bernie's like chairs of his campaign, a big surrogate, big supporter, and just like many of the other Bernie surrogates and co-chairs and all that stuff, and like the movement itself, I think Ro Khanna's attitude as of late really just signifies the kind of pathetic state that we're in again as a movement. Let's take a look first here at this tweet from Mr. Khanna. This was just, beyond the pale, frankly, completely inexcusable and unnecessary, really. Let's take a look here. Rose says, well, okay, first of all, Hillary Clinton tweets out, I agree with Bill. Ro Khanna's new book, Dignity in the Digital Age, is a smart take on how we use technology to bring equality, not division, to communities across America. Buy it or get it from your local library. So not only is Ro Khanna's new book being endorsed by Hillary, but also Billy himself, who says Ro Khanna's book, Dignity in the Digital Age, is full of good ideas for creating opportunities in places across America that have been left out and left behind for far too long. We should all work together to make them a reality and spread the benefits of technology to every American. So, they're shouting out Ro Khanna's new book, Dignity in the Digital Age. And, if I was Ro, personally, I would just either ignore this or be like, sorry, I don't want your endorsement. I don't want, you to try to kiss up to me or whatever. Again, these are the people that created the conditions which Bernie Sanders had to run against when he tried to take over the Democratic Party. And that was a movement, a quest that Ro Khanna was down with and seemed to understand the logic behind. Again, a revolt against the Clintons. So with that being said, again, if they're now out here complimenting him, I would be like, hey, thanks for the compliment, but you guys are kind of responsible for the mess the Democratic Party is in now. Maybe you can fuck right off. I mean, if Hillary Clinton started, talking some nice words about the Vanguard, I wouldn't, come out here and be, oh, thank you, Hillary. Thank you, Hillary. You're such an inspiration to me. But that's exactly what Ro Khanna did. This means a lot coming from Hillary Clinton, who is a leader in protecting and strengthening our democracy, expanding digital opportunity, and building a more deliberative digital public sphere. Deeply honored. So not only is he, kissing up to Hillary Clinton and humiliating himself by groveling at the feet of the all-powerful Clintons, but he's also just straight up fucking lying. You're going to tell me that Hillary Clinton has had anything to do with strengthening democracy? Weren't you part of the Bernie Sanders campaign that, as WikiLeaks revealed, was being sabotaged from within the DNC by Hillary Clinton herself? I mean, we all remember the super delegates. We all remember Donna Brazile getting, questions leaked to her for debates that she then forwarded to Hillary Clinton, giving her an unfair advantage. There was a myriad of ways that I'm sure you guys all remember in which Hillary and the DNC tipped the scales against Bernie Sanders in 2016 and then obviously in 2020 as well. So it's totally insane, again, for him to come out here and just straight up fucking lie. Hillary Clinton is part of the reason why the Democratic Party is anything but democratic.
Yeah, there's so much to unpack here, right? And I think there's a lot to say. One, I mean, this just kind of shreds any credibility that I kind of have for anybody who wants to kind of align themselves with the leftist, who has the ability to just for their own career's sake be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna just leverage this endorsement into book sales. That's essentially that's the first thing this is about. Okay, who buys books? People who would take the endorsement of Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton seriously, right? Like neoliberal people. That's who's going to buy Ro Khanna's book. He's not selling it to Bernie Sanders people anymore. Who in a DSA chapter is going to buy Ro Khanna's book? Nobody. So I think that's one chapter of this, no pun intended, is that he's trying to sell more books and he's just making a blatant fucking cash grab for it. So that always smells bad when a politician's out here just trying to hawk their own books at any fucking cost. Makes you think like Andrew Yang type of vibes from somebody. Just desperate. I mean, Hillary Clinton too. He's definitely taking a page from her book. Again, these puns come too easy. How I Learned Nothing is what she should have named her book after the election, but instead she went up, whatever. The Pantsuit Nation got behind her, and that's who he's selling his books to now, apparently. So you have that going on. But then I think it's also just deeply revealing of something that you and I have speculated about a lot, Gavin, how people just thought that getting behind Bernie was a smart career move. Okay, I think that at some point in Ro Khanna's life, he was like, he definitely was anti-war activist. He definitely saw the crime and criminality of the war in the Middle East sooner than other individuals. That I know he first ran for Congress back in like 2003, right after the invasion of Iraq. He lost, but it was a big thing for him. Okay, that's all fine and good, but the rest of this shit, I feel like, was all just calculus. Like, you are fine with stodgy neoliberalism that is like, makes you feel good when you sleep at night in your fucking fancy house in San Jose or wherever the fuck his district is in California. I know it's just outside San Francisco, right next to his good pal Nancy. So you have all of that going on. It just reminds me of, and obviously people won't like this comparison, but it just kind of gives me vibes of like a Tulsi Gabbard person. Like, you got behind Bernie strategically. You got behind Bernie because it could have benefited your career, kind of like the Squad too. Like, I feel like there would be a lot more vocal aggression from the Squad if Bernie Sanders had won. Right. And that's because there would have been a political avenue for them. Right. There would have been a president leader. Like, this is now like, instead they just have to be a progressive that's like raising hell in Congress, and that's no fun. Then you don't get any money, you don't get invited to any parties. I don't know, it just seems like Ro Khanna has been completely swallowed up by the establishment in the wake of Bernie Sanders' failure to win the presidential nomination. And again, Gavin, as you pointed out, he refuses to even acknowledge that the man that he worked for and campaigned to become president was literally cheated by this woman and her cronies in the DNC, and has the audacity, the fucking gall, man, to come out here and say that she's a leader in protecting and strengthening our democracy. All of that's horseshit. So you have to be like, what is he doing? He's playing inside baseball right now, and he's trying to protect his ass and his own fucking career and make sure he doesn't get primaried by anybody, and instead he gets a good bankroll of funding, and it's pretty easy for him to win re-election. Like, that just, sell books, be non-controversial, tell everybody it's okay when they stab the progressive movement in the back a bunch of times. Like, I don't know. Like, it's so weird. It seems like such a fucking fall from grace.
Yeah, it's definitely odd. And I think that, I mean, it's definitely, I definitely think he was making a careerist move, like you said, Zach. I mean, I think in his heart of hearts, the guy would prefer the Democratic Party look like the Bernie Sanders style Democrats. But the problem here, and that we see with so many other progressives like him, is that he's not willing to fight to make that a reality. He just gave up and went home with his tail in between his legs, just like Bernie himself did after getting shanked in 2016 and 2020. And the only reason why I say that is because, every once in a while, to his credit, Ro Khanna does come out here with a great take. Recently, the other day, he was out here talking about one of the only voices in the entire Congress who was talking about why no-fly zones are a terrible, terrible idea. So, it's like 50-50. Sometimes he gets it right 100%, and you're like, thank you for being the only voice of reason here. And then sometimes he does this bullshit, and you just want to vomit. So I don't really know what to make of the situation, other than that I think, in his heart of hearts, yes, he probably agrees with the Bernie Sanders style of Democrat more so than the Hillary one. But he's not willing to be aggressive or confrontational. He's not willing to, force the party to be in his image. He just accepts the fact that it is this disgusting neoliberal establishment, and kind of goes along with it instead of countering it anymore, which again, I think is very representative, indicative of the whole Bernie movement, and obviously Bernie himself at this point. But it is pretty funny because this tweet was roundly rejected. As you can see, it only has 390 likes, which is pretty pathetic for someone with as many followers, almost 300,000. So, not very popular tweet, obviously. I don't really know who he's, playing to other than the Clintons themselves. But what I thought was really funny was Kyle Kulinski here of Secular Talk. He responded and got 1,000 likes. So brutally fucking ratioing Ro Khanna with an image that I think says it all. So again, just almost, quadruple the amount of likes than the original tweet. So I think it's fair to say that most of Ro's followers share the sentiment. Like, what the fuck, dude? No one wants to see this. No one wants to hear this. No one wants to see you sanitizing the image of the Clintons, who, as I said, are responsible for the shape of the Democratic Party today more so than almost anyone. I mean, again, these are the people that Bernie Sanders had to run against. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely, and that's why I think this is all horseshit, man. This is why I think it's been careerism from jump. Like, obviously, he probably like that's why I said I think he probably has a real personal commitment to like anti-war, anti-violent efforts, right? Like, I think he's demonstrated that time and time again. He worked with Rand Paul. He opposed the Iraq invasion, but that doesn't mean that he's not like a secret, like not secret, like he's made it pretty clear to me now. But I'm just saying that I think his politics, he'll always be movable towards that, like yeah, anti-war abroad, like no, let's not just indiscriminately kill brown people. Like, sure, he's got enough of a conscience to understand that most congressional people don't. We got to give the guy that. Okay, but when it comes to the fucking neoliberal economic policies, yeah, he's down to shove that down our throat. Yeah, he's down to re-sanitize the people who literally did NAFTA, okay, and then sold it to the American people. Like, I didn't even get into the fucking Bill Clinton. I feel like everybody comes down harder on him. Bill Clinton is a fucking evil bastard, guys. Slick Willie is what my father always calls him, because nothing ever stuck to the fucker. But he did all kinds of crazy shit. And he was a maniacal bastard, and he's one of the reasons that all of our small towns got finally fucking destroyed, because, as a good friend of the show, Tom Frank, says, he got everything passed that Reagan couldn't, right? Everything Reagan and Bush wanted to do, yeah, it got done under Bill Clinton. And then that Democrats modeled their entire strategy going forward off of this shit show, horrible right-wing neoliberalism, which was like these new Democrats or whatever the fuck, right? They called themselves, and it was essentially the super fucking stodgy neoliberalism is exactly 100%. I was trying to think of the word. What's the word for tax? Like higher austerity. It was very austere liberalism. And then under that, they did NAFTA, and they just opened up the fucking ginormous coffers of the Democratic Party to the lobbyists and every corporate agency. And by the time you get to Obama, they're taking more money than the Republicans are from Wall Street and all that kind of shit. And that was all paid for, by the way, of Bill Clinton, who wouldn't have even won this election had it not been for Ross Perot. Check out our Jesse Ventura interview if you want to talk more, if you want to hear more about that. If it weren't for Ross Perot taking 20% of the votes away from H.W. Bush because he was a huge deficit hawk, and they didn't think that H.W. Bush had been hawkish enough on the fucking deficit. So this is a big roundabout way of saying all these people are fucking depraved and disgusting, and that Khanna is willing to rehabilitate them to sell a couple more books and win re-election. And that tells you everything you need to know about his so-called principles. Because Hillary Clinton, if she does get rehabilitated and go back to fucking running in office, and God forbid ever became president of this country, you don't think that she would bomb the shit out of a bunch of innocent brown people, Ro? You don't think she would do that thing that you claim to despise and loathe, and fucking goddamn it has demonstrated throughout his career that he does oppose? But like, how could you not think this one through, man? It's fucking stupid. This is why people hate politics, because it's all bullshit, self fucking serving. It's all a joke.
Yeah, and of course Hillary Clinton voted for the Iraq War. So what the fuck was that? Was that building a more deliberative digital sphere? Was that strengthening democracy, Ro? Like, what the hell, man? It's just totally disappointing.
Like,
and again,
brought freedom to Libya.
Yeah, they liberated the people for sure. Anyway, totally disgraceful in my opinion. Can't stand this kind of rehabilitation of literal war criminals. And obviously Bill Clinton, of course, also signed the omnibus crime bill that Joe Biden was responsible for. Again, this is who you're rehabilitating: NAFTA, crime bill, Iraq war, the neoliberalification of the Democratic Party. This should be your primary enemy, Khanna, not someone you're, trying to sanitize the image of. So totally disgraceful.